So we'll start with what I see going on now. You can imagine division supervisor at a breakout meeting after the morning briefing at a fire. You got the division supervisor and it's hotshot crew, Type 2AA, an engine, felling team, whatever. They're all standing around, and what do you usually see? Lay out a map. Everyone points at a map. They look at, okay, we have this division. We're going to take this action. Here's the heliphones, here's the drop points, all the logistics, and they talk safety. They talk about the probability and severity of things happening and the mitigations that they're going to take in order to reduce the probability and or severity and overall reduce the risk to personnel on the fire. They're going to talk about Haynes, RH, rocks, falling trees, footing, snags, snakes, all that kind of stuff. Ultimately, they're going to talk about how they're making, in that green, amber, red risk matrix, they're going to be talking about how to make reds into yellows, yellows into greens. Everyone's going to say, okay, got it. And I don't know if it's still going on as much as it used to, but the division supervisor usually ends with, hey, stay safe out there, right? Okay, great. So that's how it looks, typically. And it's not bad, but here's the shift that I want to see. So we're creating a plan, we're designing a plan to do a job, and to do a job, quote unquote, safely. So what goes into that? Well, the assignments, logistics, how we build margin into it too. How do we do this job and build wiggle room into it? Because we know things are going to, not the way we thought they were going to go, all that kind of stuff. And we do the risk matrix, and we throw in the JHAs, and we design this envelope, that has all the stuff in it. And just like an engineer would design a design envelope for the what they believe the stressors on a wing or some component of a wing were going to be, and they design it and they plan and they understand what the forces are going to be on that thing, and they make sure it can withstand those forces and then a little bit extra. So with all of that, all the stuff we were just talking about, and all the tools that we have in order to make a good plan. That's all this design envelope. That's us preparing to go out to the field and implement something. And it's us saying, we're making a plan to do something with a bit of wiggle room. We very rarely do we make plans that absolutely have to go right in order for everyone to live. We I think do a pretty good job of designing sound plans, right? So that's what we do, and I'm not suggesting that we change much of that, right? That's all really good information. We want to be as informed as we can, and we want to bring up as much as we can as far as the potential risks, the perturbations on the system, what might happen. We want to game out all that stuff. That's what design envelope's all about. So now, once that's done, the change that I'd love to see is that the division supervisor, after all that's done, and instead of saying, okay, any questions, be safe out there, division supervisor says, okay, now that we know this, someone on this division could die today. Is what we're doing valuable? That's a huge question, right? It talks about the value of what we're doing, and it puts it out there in a real way, right? On this division today, someone could die. And me, as a division supervisor, I want to be able to go to the family if I'm asked. I want to be able to go to the family, the loved ones of whoever just died, and say, you know what? I can tell you with all honesty that we made a plan, that we talked about it, that we had all of these defenses in place, all that kind of stuff. We had designed an envelope. We had designed a plan for this. And we talked about, you know what, this is valuable as well. And that gets to this acceptable risk discussion. And what's so uncomfortable about the acceptable risk discussion is that it's not objective, it's not measurable necessarily. There is no one level that is acceptable. Have we reduced it to a level that we all feel comfortable with? And is what we're doing valuable? We know what we're doing has risk, and we've reduced that to what the level we think we can. And we have discussed, we have brought out that, hey, you know what, this stuff we're doing is valuable. In addition to that conversation, we also need to really have the discussion too about, well, what's influencing us? What are those things that we don't necessarily always talk about that are influencing us to, do the thing that we always do, which is go out and do it? And these are neither right nor wrong. They just are. These are just the things that are influencing us. Like, other divisions are hoping that we're going to do our job so that they can do their job. They're depending on us. Maybe I'm a division trainee and I'm trying to get signed off. This might be the last piece of line. I want a good paycheck. I'm doing this, and I want to make sure that people invite me back. I don't want to do nothing and just keg resources here in a staging area. All those kind of things that are out there that are influencing us, bring those to the surface, right? They're neither right nor wrong. They just are. And the final piece is, this is helping us, all of this stuff, the influences, the values, just calling out the fact that someone could die, and designing the envelope, it's helping us make a collective, or helping us define a collective understanding of what acceptable risk is. Now, what is, as we said before, the definition of acceptable risk is, it's nothing anyone can point to and say, yaha, that's it, or that's not it, especially before something happens, So what we're trying to do when we come to a collective understanding of this is really just try and point to that fuzzy thing that we all have an idea is out there but really can't define precisely. And what's most important here is not that we come up with an answer, but that we have the discussion. So individually, each of us are going to have a sense of what's acceptable, what's not, sort of a range of like, no, that's dumb. We're not going to do that, and no, we're not on the more risky end, and then the other end, we're like, hey, we need to do something here. So there's in between the doing nothing and that's way too risky. We all have kind of an idea that's in our individual perception or understanding of acceptable risk, and then coming to a collective understanding is even more difficult. We're talking about things that we really can't define. Again, the conversation about this is more important than whatever answer we come up with. And here's the final piece, is that as soon as we break, as soon as after we've had this great conversation and this more nuanced conversation about values and what influences us and the risk and how we've mitigated the risk, it's going to change. As soon as we break from that breakout session, it's going to change. So most importantly, the final piece of this is a plan for how we continue to renegotiate what acceptable risk is. So how are we throughout the day, as our perceptions change, our attitudes change, our understanding of the situation changes, the environment itself changes, those conditions are changing, other actors or other actions in the system are causing these effects and changing where we fit into the whole big picture of stuff. So all of this is changing. As soon as we break, what we just discussed is now no longer true, because we have evolved. We have evolved in our understanding, and it's gone from 10 o'clock in the morning or 6 o'clock in the morning. Now it's 10 o'clock in the morning. Now it's noon. Stuff's changing. How have we made a plan to renegotiate this acceptable risk thing? Is it, hey, there's a change in our assessment of the risk, or is it the value of what we're doing has changed? We need to go back and talk, or I'm getting these influences from political stuff, or these other crews are really pushing us hard, or whatever it is. Something has changed in the system, and we need to come back and renegotiate. what that is. And what is the plan for that? Are we going to come back? Is it something we can do over the radio? Is there a high sign over the radio that we can all say, hey, you know what, here's the trigger, we're going to come back together and renegotiate what this is? So the division breakout now looks a little bit different. It went from, here's the plan, this is the map, here's the mitigations we've taken, any other thoughts, bring that stuff into the room, copy, everyone okay with the plan, any questions, stay safe out there, to now, we're really bringing in, we're identifying that, hey, we've this design envelope that we've created, it's building a great foundation for what we are going to do out in the field, but it's only that. It's just a stuff that we've written down on paper. When we go out and apply it, things are going to be different. And what's most valuable there is the understanding of the values and bringing that in. And not that we've ever decided that we've called acceptable risk 5 or 7 or whatever it is, but that we are discussing it, that we're bringing these things out in the open. We're bringing those influences out up so that people can talk about them. And we're making a plan to do it again and again and again. So.